What's your view on the kind of the role of tech within this services procurement setting, within an offering such as the offering that you guys provide, and also the role of dedicated tech versus kind of generalist or existing technology?
Yeah, I think the dedicated tech piece is a really simple question. You need dedicated tech. It's, you alluded to it earlier, it's a unique category of indirect procurement. This is one of the few categories where you're buying something that you can't measure, you can't weigh it, you can't test its speed or so on, like you could with hardware or software or any of the core categories. It's ambiguous, it's difficult to manage. So the core traditional P2P platforms just kind of don't serve it particularly well. So you do need dedicated tech. You need tech that is addressing the unique problems of the procurement process. These are, something that can run an RFP, something that can help you build a contract, and so on and so forth, but comes from a background of understanding the treatment of individuals and so on. So, it's no good just building a pure play output contract if you got no way to onboard the resources. You've got no way to track how many people you've got, where they are they in a safe part of the world, are they in a dangerous part of the world, did they come to work today, didn't they come to work today? You've got to have that sort of the coming together of technology. So it does need to be dedicated because it's a unique set of problems. So it's a unique piece of software. It needs to have all its obvious integrations, because you're going to, a lot of organizations will have a policy that all contracts must end up over here, or all spend must flow through this particular area. That's fine. You can adjust all the integrations to make that happen, but dedicated tech's an essential, and tech that's grown out of this emerging market of SOW and MSP operating side by side. And then to the other point in there around what happened afterwards, it's not as straightforward as it sounds to track every SOW through to conclusion. And because we're all different, and they'll have a different number of milestones, and they might be in different places and with different actions associated with them around payment or remediation and so on. So that's quite complicated stuff. And then the bigger complexity is turning that into the data to make the better buying decisions. You or I, I'm guessing, would never buy something off Amazon now without reading some reviews and did it, you ordered it, did it turn up on time, was it damaged or not when it arrived, were you fairly happy with the product? Yet people don't traditionally do that yet when they're spending millions and millions on professional services at a corporate level. So I think there's this space that the technology needs to fill of building not quite an Amazon 5-star review process necessarily, but something quantitative and qualitative around, hey, have these deals delivered as you'd expect? Were they, was it easy to work with this organization or not? Did they meet the standards that you expected to or not? And then the tech platform can build all of that out and then facilitate that high level of efficiency on the next purchase.
Yeah, exactly. And it ties into the 4 criteria you mentioned earlier of, did they do what was supposed to be done? Was it to the appropriate standard? Did it happen in a timely manner? And did it happen to the appropriate cost? And there are various kind of quantitative metrics that should be captured within a specialist services procurement management system that will inform that part of the process. But then there's the other side of it of, did they do a good job? And in terms of measuring quality, that could be to specific criteria. It could be to things like, it could even take into account things like the innovation delivered or the sustainability of that particular supplier or the way that work was delivered. It doesn't really matter, but that qualitative element plus the quantitative element is something that could be really used to make powerful insights, but it only works if the workflows can capture that information. And I think this is where you get this big disconnect at the moment, where typically you might have a process that can capture a statement of work agreement, but it'll end up sitting in a shared file. It doesn't, you're not, the management of milestones, for example, just won't be programmatic, and it won't be dealt with at a granular level. And that's where I think the complexity of buying services versus buying goods, again, is a really relevant point, because unless you capture that granularity specifically relating to how services are delivered, there's no way you can make those insights and inferences later, because it's not just as black and white as buying 50 red widgets.
And this is why tech's so essential, because let's assume an average mid-size sort of FTSE 250 organization is going to execute somewhere between 500 and 1,000 SOWs a year. And if every SOW has 4 milestones in it, and you want to ask those 4 questions of each of those 4 milestones, you start getting to a scale where efficiency, ease of use, an ability to aggregate data and so on is an absolute must. I've seen organizations try and sort of deal with this with, we'll use our P2P, and at the side we'll have some sort of spreadsheets of vendor management and so on and so forth. It doesn't work when you get to that sort of scale. So if you really want to be able to track those qualitative and quantitative outputs and then use those for decision making, and ensure that you really understand what you bought and whether it was delivered and whether it was any good, then you do need dedicated tech. But at the same time, it doesn't need to be sort of super complex, super high end, revolutionary stuff. It's fundamentally a relatively straightforward challenge you're setting. It's workflows, it's data capture, it's data interrogation. But it needs to be, I guess, developed out of a team who understand that space.